Hi, my name is Lily. I'm a top rope and lead climber from New Jersey.
When I was clean and you tried to get me, I would have said in your dreams, 'cause you're kind of different.
I got into it about like consistently and seriously doing it about 2 years ago. I don't know why, just like one day I asked my friend, I was like, oh, do you want to go rock climbing? And he was like, sure. And we went to our local gym and then just fell in love with it. And from then on, just been consistently doing it. Top rope is you have a harness and you're attached to a rope. Bouldering, you're not attached to anything. So the difference between the actual walls is that with bouldering, you're getting about 15 feet on average, like the wall height. And because it is shorter than a top rope wall, you're gonna have way more intense movement between each hold. So bouldering is just a more intense form of climbing. It's a good form of climbing if you want to get good quickly and get strong quickly. Top rope is more lenient. Typically most gyms will have 50-foot walls, and it's just a way more casual kind of climbing. It's definitely still very difficult, like depending on the level that you're climbing, but in my experience, it's just flowed more smoothly than bouldering. And obviously it's safer because you're attached to a rope, and bouldering, you're way more susceptible to injury. So there's a separate grading system for bouldering and top rope. Bouldering it's the V system, which is typically used in North America and other parts. I know Europe has a different one, but North America typically starts from V0 or VB and can go up to V14, but most gyms will go up to V10. And the higher the number, the harder it gets. So typically when you're a beginner, you would want to start with VB or V0, V1, that kind of thing. And V3, that's when you'll start seeing a difference. Like V3 and higher, you'll be like, oh, okay. It's definitely getting harder, and you'll plateau way more, which means like you'll be staying at that level for longer once you start hitting V3 and above. And then for top rope, how they do the grading system is 5-point blank. And what the 5 means is that it's a class level. So typically class level 1 is horizontal, class level 2, class level 3, class level 4, class level 5. Class level 5 is completely vertical. So that's why they start with that for the top rope wall. And then it starts like 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, yada, 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 goes up to, I believe, from my experience in the gym, 5.14, but I know it goes higher than that outdoors. And typically most gyms will start at 5.6, go up to 5.14. Climbing has a variety of holds. You have crimps, which are basically kind of like little holds that you could really only get the tips of your fingers on. You can't like grab it, you can only get your fingers on it, so you really have to have good finger strength and grip strength. A sloper is just gonna be like a big ball, kind of, and you typically just wanna have like the most surface area with your hands on them in order to get a good grip on them, because you just can't actually hold them. You just have to like really put your weight into them or like push off of them. And then there's pinches, which it's in the name, you just kind of pinch the hold. There's jugs, which is what you're gonna see for the easiest climbs, which is just like you could just grab it like that. Oh, and there's also pockets where you just like typically have room for like only 2 fingers. Yeah, those are the main holds I can think of. So typically in the Northeast, you're not gonna get great outdoor climbing. You're gonna get mostly bouldering, but even then the rock is pretty chossy. Chossy meaning like it breaks easily, it's just not good rock to climb. But out west is where you're gonna get really good rock. So I've been to Utah, I've climbed there before. I did some sport climbing, which is basically like top rope, but outdoors, or it's lead climbing, my bad. And lead climbing is different from top rope because instead of the rope being at the top already and like going over a barrel, you have to carry the rope up with you and clip yourself in. And I've done that outdoors. in Utah, but I haven't done anything in the Northeast just because I don't want to deal with potential injury from the rock, and it's just like none of the climbs even seem like worthwhile to make like a 4-hour drive to. But yeah, so I typically do just climb in the gym because there's a lot of climbing gyms nearby, and a lot of different climbing styles within each gym, so it works out. I am a very worried climber at the same time. Like that's why I don't love bouldering, just because I've had so many of my friends have had gnarly injuries from it, and I don't want to twist my ankle, mess up my wrist, something like that. And top rope is like much harder to get injured on. So yeah, I have not. Typically I'll stretch beforehand, just because sometimes when I'm doing a climb, I could like really feel like the tension in like my hips or like my legs or like in my shoulders. So I've gone into the habit of stretching beforehand. Hydrating, eating is the biggest one. I've learned from countless times me not eating that I'm much more shaky. I get tired easier, and it's just like, yeah, eating, stretching, that's the most important thing to do before a climb, in my opinion. In terms of top rope climbing, throw on a harness, make sure you're climbing with someone who's belay certified. For top rope, you do have to be belay certified, which means like you know how to use the gree or the ATC, and those are just belaying devices where the rope is feeding through, and they just want to check for if you know how to like do the braking on it, if you know how to like pull the rope through properly. There's like different techniques. So to be belay certified is to make sure that you know how to properly belay a climber and not pose any injury to them. Always gonna wanna have a harness, belayer, someone who's belay certified. Throw on your harness, make sure that you're tied in correctly. You're gonna do figure 8 with a safety knot. And your belayer should be checking your knot too, to make sure that it's good and that you're not gonna fall out of it, and to check your harness too, and to check your belayer to make sure that the gree isn't backwards or the ATC isn't messed up. And then like during the climb, like as a belayer, you're just gonna make sure that you're pulling the slack through, you're giving enough slack if your climber wants slack. And then as a climber, just like communicating with your belayer too. Communication is the most important thing about climbing. So it's just really important that the belayer and climber are comfortable with each other and can ask for breaks at any point or ask for more slack, that kind of thing. Going up is harder because you're actually doing the climb, and then during top rope you just get like belayed down. But like for me, like if I'm bouldering, this like applies more to bouldering. With bouldering, I like to climb down just because that is like a good way of building strength. And I find that to be harder just because like it doesn't feel right to like climb down. But like when you're climbing up, you could see your route way more clearly, and it's just like makes more sense. So yeah, with bouldering, I think climbing down is harder, but that's obviously not required. A lot of people just jump down, but for me, like if I'm bouldering, I'm focusing on strength building, so I will climb down. I think my biggest strength is honestly like grip strength. I have really bad upper body strength. My technique really isn't the best either, but people tend to hate crimps, but I love doing them just because I have like good finger strength, good grip strength, so it does work in favor when I can't really perform in the other areas.